And we're live.
Welcome back, everyone. Episode 52 of Kids Deserve It. We hope you've been enjoying our weekly chats with educators and game changers from around the country. Also, don't forget, you can check us out on iTunes.
And if you haven't already heard, you can head on over to kidsdeserveit.com and check out our 5 days of KDI Christmas. We are doing 5 random days of giveaways using different social media platforms like Remind, Twitter, email, Facebook, Instagram. So if you head on over to our blog at kidsdeserveit.com, you can see we just announced our first 12 winners today, who are each going to get some bracelets for themselves and for some friends. And we'll be giving some more stuff away the next couple days. So make sure you go and check out the site and be paying attention on those platforms as we share out how you can join in on our 5 days of KDI Christmas.
Also, don't forget, you can join us for our Kids Deserve It chat on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I'm going to warn you, it is a busy but super motivating chat. So check us out on Wednesday. Also, check out Todd's Periscope right before the chats at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I think you had like 1,200 viewers last time, Todd. Your Periscope is going off the hook. Awesome job. This week, we got another great guest, but first we want to introduce ourselves. I am Adam Welcome, Director of Innovation and Technology in the Bay Area of California.
I'm Todd Nesloni, Elementary School Principal in Navasota, Texas. And our special guest this week is the amazing Principal Jeff Herb out of Chicago, Illinois. So Jeff, thanks for being here.
It is awesome to be on the show, guys. Thanks for inviting me.
We want to remind our viewers to participate on social media using the hashtag KidsDeserveIt, as we love seeing the learning, whether you're watching this live or listening to the recording afterwards.
So Jeff, let's get into some questions. So for those who don't know about you, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started my educational career at a high school in suburban Chicago, and I was an English teacher and kind of developed this really interesting path. I taught English for a few years, was asked to be our media director at the building after one of our awesome ones retired. And that really kind of got me thinking in a completely different way. I was supporting teachers a lot, using technology in different ways. We were kind of in the early stages of a very rudimentary one-to-one rollout in a pilot type basis. So I got to do a lot of hands-on with that. From there, I was an associate principal of operations at a high school for 3 years. And my superintendent, who likes to randomly game change things and put people in different places, asked me to be a principal at a middle school where I've been now for 2 years. So that's kind of the long and short of my career so far, but it's been putting me in a lot of different really unique places that have helped shape my thinking.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Jeff, you've been an administrator, like you said, for a few years now. What would you say is your favorite part of being the leader of a school?
Oh, hands down, one of my favorite parts is being able to interact with so many different kids. One of my favorite things to do, and what I think is really important in a building as a leader, is to be visible all over the place. I like to spend a lot of time. I book half my calendar out, and I'm just doing classroom walkthroughs, interacting with kids, talking about what they're learning, talking about why they think they're learning it. And that's what's been really powerful for me, to not only have those conversations with kids, but also bring back some of those conversations to have with teachers too. It's all about how is this entire system fitting together to do what we need to do to make sure kids are learning and make sure that they're ready for what's coming ahead, whether that be high school, in my case, with being a middle school principal, and then even really thinking that next step ahead and looking at what they're going to be learning in college or bringing to the workforce and stuff like that. It starts surprisingly early, and you have to start thinking about making sure that what we're doing on a day-to-day basis is impactful for students.
So year two, we were talking before a little bit about, is it easier? Is it harder? Depending on who you talk to, people have different viewpoints. But year two, like, what's something you've accomplished this year that you're really proud of, and maybe for yourself or for your school? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is by no means my own personal accomplishment. I'm just proud of what we've been able to do as a district even this year. For years, we have worked to kind of pilot a one-to-one program, but not really had anything expansive. A few great educators, and Pasco is our probably you, Adam, in our district, and she has put together a great program with the support of all of the building principals. We rolled out just under 15,000 Chromebooks this year in our district in order to be able to do one-to-one from second grade to eighth grade. And that was a tremendous, opportunity for us to really change a lot of what we think about education and what student learning looks like. So something that I know that we're all really proud of, me particularly, is how teachers have embraced that change, because with that came some digital curricula that we implemented at the same time, and teachers had to take a step back and think about what instruction looked like, what learning looked like. And I'm proud of the fact that our teachers were willing to accept that challenge. And I'm also proud of, myself and my administrative team for being there and making sure that any kind of hesitation or worry along the way was met with support and, just talking through some of those difficult changes too.
15,000 Chromebooks is nothing to laugh at. Oh my goodness.
It was significant for sure. And next year it sounds like it's going to be the high school. So another interesting year ahead of us.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Jeff, what would you say is probably one of the hardest things about being in education?
It's that constant questioning of yourself to see, like, are we doing what we should be doing? Is what we're doing making enough change and making sure that students are getting what they need to as they progress through our system? I know that kind of sounds similar to what we talked about in the first question, but there's so many things vying for our time and attention. And one of the things that I know that has come to head this year for us in our building is how much assessment we're doing in our classrooms and in our district and in our state. And I swear, like, my assistant principal and my good friend Nikki Woodbury and I sat down together and we're like, all right, we need a calendar and we need to mark, like, every day that we're doing some sort of assessment with students, whether it's like a unit assessment or a state assessment. And it's terrifying. I love data, and I like making sure that we're, like, holding, students and making sure that they are getting what we want them to get. But at a certain point, that's been what has been really troubling for us lately, is that balance of, are we assessing too much? How do we mitigate some of that and make sure that we're also still instructing and not just assessing, because that's certainly an issue as well.
Totally. So it's always nice to hear from our guests what school was like for them growing up. So Next question, what was school like for you growing up, Jeff?
So this is a really interesting question, because I actually went to school in the district in which I work.
Nice.
And so I have this very interesting perspective, seeing, several layers of administration that has come and gone, obviously, since I've been a student in the buildings. And I'm a principal of a school that I went to, and that's really crazy too.
So was I.
Yeah, see, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to say that it's gone in such great directions. Obviously, it's kept up with the times, and the technology has obviously come in with 15,000 devices. But I remember a lot of it was the kill it and drill it type mentality, where you get your sheet of multiplication times table thing. I mean, that's like a very formative memory in my head, is that, like, minute times table test. And, I just remember a lot of that, where it's more of that rote memorization and that kind of, not totally outside the box thinking type mentality, but that was kind of education back then. I definitely have very vivid memories of, like, my kindergarten class, where I know that teacher was way ahead of her time, because she was taking kids to the moon, like, set up her class like a spaceship, had astronauts come in full attire, brought moon rocks. Like, it was an incredibly memorable experience. We did the same thing. We went to Hawaii. She brought in parents that were flight attendants, and one of the dads was a pilot, and he got over the intercom in that classroom and did the whole routine. And we felt like, we got peanuts, probably before there were laws about bringing peanuts into classrooms. Like, it was just one of those things you remember. Like, I can picture it so vividly. And I think it really ties into what you guys talk about so much too, not, shameless plug here, but you guys talk about making sure that what we're doing for kids is something that is powerful and memorable, and, it's kids deserve it. So I think of Miss McIntyre, my kindergarten teacher, 110 times when I read stuff that you guys put out, because it's something that she strived to do every day, is make it interesting, make it game changing, and make it memorable.
Nice.
That is so cool that you can remember all that about that class. I mean, that really shows the power of it. It doesn't matter what you're doing in a school. Kids can remember you for the great things that you're doing.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well,
for sure.
Jeff, as you know, you and I talk a lot, and, we have a lot of those rough days where either it's tough to get out of bed or it's going to be a tough day at school. What do you kind of do to make sure you kick yourself into gear so that you're completely there for your staff?
Absolutely. I think it's important to take some time to disconnect, even if it's once a week or it might fit with your schedule. Our superintendent, we know that Wednesday nights are off limits. That's family nights for him. And he won't be responding to emails. He won't be on call for things. He's not going to go to your, play or whatever on a Wednesday night. And that's awesome. I think for me, particularly being able to come home, I have a 2-year-old, she turned 2 in August, being able to spend time with her and make sure that I carve out, family time is incredibly rewarding and recharging. I also make sure that, you work out, you eat right. And if something isn't fun, if you wake up and you're like, I can't believe I have to go to work, it's time for a change. Something needs to change. And I think it's just being really conscious of that is extremely important. If you are waking up, it doesn't mean you have to go and look and find a new job. That's not what I'm saying. But you can change something within your own daily routine that kind of triggers something that will make it an easier transition for you to get up and go to work. I love going to work. I truly do. I've found something really magical in the building I'm in and the staff I'm working with and my administrators that I work with, that even if I know that I have a tough day coming up, I still am looking forward to going there. And when that changes, that's when I will start thinking about innovating something that I do on a daily basis. So just being conscious of, if you wake up feeling lousy about going to work, it's time to think about the stuff that you do during the time that you're there.
No doubt. So I remember seeing this last year, and you're about to do it again. You've done some really great stuff with Periscope Out. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, for sure. So this is something that Todd and I started, I guess it was last year, maybe it was 2 years ago, Todd. But we came with this idea because I was interested about what Todd was doing in his building, and he was interested about what I was doing in my building. I'm like, hey, maybe we could Periscope each other's buildings and see what kind of stuff is going on there. I love getting different ideas from educators. And that kind of just snowballed into this idea, well, why don't we open up to anyone? And why don't we call it Periscope Out? Because you scope out someone else's building using Periscope. So on December 12th, I think last time I checked, Todd, we had about 7 spots left of the 30.
I'm pulling up right now to see where we're at.
Pull it up and see. Last time I checked, we had about 7 left of the 30 that we open up. We open up about 20-minute time slots, of which we expect you to use between 10 to 15 minutes to share your building, share your space. It could be your office, Adam. It doesn't matter if it's a educational type space. We're just checking in with educators about what they're doing in their classrooms, makerspaces, libraries. We've gotten building tours. We've gotten office tours because what's something that was so powerful from the last one that we did was the fact that a teacher shared just their classroom, went around to the different stations they had set up, the different things hanging on the walls, and watching the comments stream up in Periscope was exhilarating. They were like, oh my gosh, what an awesome idea. Where can you find that? Or how did you make that? Or can you send me instructions for that? I'm totally doing that today. I'm doing that tomorrow. It was awesome. So, we've tried to do this a couple times a year, and the next one coming up is December 12th. You can find each of the feeds. We have the people that are sharing their feed use the Periscope Out hashtag. It's just hashtag Periscope Out. Todd, I think you were holding up a number and I couldn't read it. What was it? 8. We have 8 spots left. Awesome. So check out instructionaltechtalk.com, or you can go to periscopeout.com actually to get there directly if you're interested in either seeing some of the streams as they come through or participating. You don't have to be invited or anything to do it. Just throw your name on the spreadsheet so we can make sure that we retweet your feed once it goes live.
Well, and I'll back up what Jeff said too about, Periscope Out. The last time we did it, it was so cool to see spaces from around the country and around the world, just to get to show stuff off. And I love the excitement that Jeff and I have seen on Twitter from this round of advertising, and people going, is it okay if I show this? And Jeff and I are both like, yeah, show whatever you want. We just want to see stuff because my teachers all the time want to go see other great teachers, and we don't always have the ability to do that. But with things like Periscope Out, you can see people from all over the country all in one day whenever you have a chance. And if you miss it, then on that sheet that Jeff has everybody signing up on, it has their Periscope handle. So you can go check out their Periscope afterwards too. And they're not only up for 24 hours anymore, so you can easily catch in. So it's a great fun thing.
Awesome.
Jeff, I want to also ask you, you mentioned Instructional Tech Talk, and that's how I found out about you. Gosh, probably 4 years ago when I first got on Twitter, and I was just in awe by the stuff that you shared. You had a podcast, all this stuff. Tell us a little bit about the Instructional Tech Talk and this little challenge thing that you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for saying that. But Instructional Tech Talk came out of that position I held as a media director. It was right around the time where schools were starting to explore one-to-one. And so there wasn't the wealth of information that people are sharing now about how to teach with technology effectively and with purpose, and making sure that it wasn't just digitizing a worksheet and having kids work with it. And so, as I scoured with looking for resources and went into classrooms and worked with teachers, I just started kind of documenting some of the things that I was finding. And I really kind of started it for our building. And it kind of gained traction and turned into a podcast, and it just kind of snowballed, and it was a lot of fun. And it was great to get feedback from teachers saying, oh my gosh, this post changed the way I did this activity. Thank you so much. And it's comments like that I was like, okay, well, now I'm going to stay up until 2 a.m. and write like 10 more of these, because that was the most like incredibly rewarding feeling I got from just some stranger, and probably who knows where. I get messages from people across the world about some of the stuff that I write. So that feeling has been so tremendous, and it makes me realize that there are so many people teaching in isolation that require or just feed off of the things that people are putting out there, and that's certainly kept me going. So I love sharing. My purpose has kind of changed over the years as I've gotten a little bit more reflective in my educational prowess, I guess. A lot of it was like, here's how you do this, and now it's more like, well, why are we doing this? And taking that more of like a transformational type approach to different things. And that's spinned into a kind of a spin-off site. Light Up EDU is something I started with one of my colleagues, and that's kind of more of a pedagogical approach to looking at education and talking about stop teaching and start learning. And it's been a really fun road. And then just recently, and Todd, I know this is something that you brought up, we are doing the 10 days of EdTech giveaways. And that was something that, I had this idea. I wanted to make sure that we talk about all these tools and resources, but a lot of times teachers, either their districts don't provide things for them because of financial restrictions, or they just don't know really how to get started or what to get started with. And so the whole idea behind this was, hey, if I can get some of these huge companies to give us some different resources, I'm going to give them away to teachers. And maybe that will help kind of get them thinking in a different way, or utilizing these tools in classrooms with students, so that students have exposure to Ozobots or whatever it may be, Spheros and Lego robotics and all that kind of stuff. In addition, we got a bunch of books about changing the way we instruct and more of a student-centered approach, and those are going to be raffled off as well. So 10 days of EdTech giveaways starts December 10th. Anyone is welcome to sign up, and you can find that at instructionaltechtalk.com.
Nice. So I love what you said about it kind of snowballed into this. It's kind of like Kids Deserve It. Todd and I met. I gave him a hard time because he didn't blog that much. We wrote a blog post, and then we have a book, and those are the best kind of things. They just start here, and they just, they just build, and I think having that goal of like, oh, I want to get here, it's harder to kind of fill those gaps in between. But when you build the house floor by floor, and it happens organically, and you have that passion for it, which Jeff is so evident that you do, things really come together. So, all right, man, it's that time of the show. Every week, we want our guests to leave a challenge for our viewers. What is your challenge for the week?
So I'm going to tie my challenge into what I just talked about. I think it would be great for all of your listeners and those of you who read Kids Deserve It blog, whatever it might be. Your challenge is to sign up for the 10 days of EdTech giveaways. You can do so at instructionaltechtalk.com. It's on the top banner. It's one of the main posts. It'll lead you there. It takes under a minute to sign up. I don't want all of your personal information. That's not why I'm doing this. I want to be able to give awesome educational techniques technology to the teachers and students across the country. It's been amazing how many other companies, after launching this giveaway, have reached out to me and said, I want to give stuff to teachers. Can I be part of your giveaway? I mean, it's been such a positive thing. So I would love for all of your listeners to join the giveaway, and that is your challenge for this week.
I love it. And, I sent it out to my whole staff, too, because I was like, guys, I know this guy. I know this is legit. I know he's not going to sell your information. So great place to sign up. So
I tried to put that like all over the page, anywhere I could. I'm like, I'm not going to spam you. I'm not going to sell you stuff. I just really want to give you free stuff. I promise.
Well, Jeff, I want to thank you so much for coming on as a guest today. You have been somebody that has been an inspiration for me for a while. So I am thrilled that you gave up some time to come with us today.
Oh my gosh, it was my pleasure. You guys it's incredible watching Kids Deserve It grow from, I think, Todd, you probably told me, hey, I wrote a blog post about this thing. And then watching it transform from that to what you guys have built so far and what it's done for kids, just truly inspiring. And I wish you all the best as you keep going.
Well, it's funny. You brought that up. I remember now because I saw you like 2 weeks after we wrote our first blog post for KDI. So that is hilarious.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. You guys have done so much.
A year and a half. That's it, man. It's happens.
Well, and we want to thank all of our viewers for also watching the show. Remember to tweet out using the hashtag Kids Deserve It or tag us at Kids Deserve It. Make sure you join our Twitter chat as well as our 5 days of KDI Christmas as well by visiting kidsdeserveit.com. And don't forget, our guest next week is going to be first-year teacher Jordan Pachepa. So we hope you all join us then. We will see you next week.